Hi, it's Jeff.
And Denise from Mousesteps.com.
And this is episode number 230.
230.
Of Mousesteps Weekly.
Sponsored by MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. 2018 rates and dates come out on June 20th. Book a qualifying 2018 vacation with MEI and receive a free Passporters Live guide and trip planner app. And that's for, I think, an entire year. So that's something that might be helpful in trip planning.
Right, not to mention all the money you'll save, too.
Well, of course, if you're booking through them, definitely they check for the best rates.
So thanks very much to MEI Travel. We highly recommend them. Also, you'll notice Denise has gotten her voice back much better now after 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago, but it took me a long time. It took me like 7 to 10 days to finally get it back.
Well, I'm just glad to have you back in full force. Anyway, we're going to start off at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
So we had been gone for a couple of weeks to the Washington, D.C. area. And so this was our first time back to a Disney park since then. And we had gone right before we left, and then we came back and pretty much went straight to Disney's Hollywood Studios within like 36 hours.
Yeah, and this was actually June 16th, so it was Cars 3 Day, and everyone that went to the park was given this nice button there, and one of the big reasons we were heading in is Cruz Ramirez from Cars 3 was debuting in her meet and greet.
Well, that was really the only reason that we went on this day as opposed to another park. Cruz Ramirez is probably one of the big stars, well, definitely one of the big stars of Cars 3. We haven't seen it yet, but we've seen her as a topiary. We've seen her at the Road to the Races, but this is the first time we've seen her actually say anything. Not that her mouth moves, it doesn't move or anything, but she has, 4 or 5 different phrases or so.
Yeah, it was really nice. The phrases don't come all that quickly, but if you spend some time and just kind of hang out there, you'll hear her say a few things. And
she is past Toy Story Midway Mania. She was not on the schedule, so there weren't really too many guests who knew she was there. I mean, she's near the construction wall. From what I understand, she'll be here during probably all summer. That's what they said on the Disney Parks blog, is that she's a summer meet and greet.
Right, and I found it interesting, as you mentioned before, just like Baby Groot and Star-Lord, not at all on the schedule. So it's a surprise and delight, I guess.
Well, I'm really surprised that Star-Lord and Groot aren't on. They've been there for weeks now.
And look she has shrank.
Yes.
It's kind of nice they have the little merchandise. So a guy one of the cast members was driving a little one of these guys around.
Well, Disney's all about the merchandise kiosks now. It's funny because in the main store I didn't see any Cars merchandise, and maybe someplace there was.
Saw Spider-Man merchandise.
Yes, I saw Spider-Man merchandise, but the car is not there, but over here. But you would think they'd sell more if it was in the main store. Again, maybe it was there somewhere, but as soon as I walked in, the main end cap was Spider-Man.
So the only thing I kind of miss in California, when the cars come out to do the meet and greets, they'll actually drive into place. So this one looks like it's stationary. Here's what we mentioned earlier. After you go and see Star-Lord and Baby Groot, they have merchandise waiting for you. So that's a new development for us.
Well, I am looking forward to the Disney California Adventure next month also. I mean, you have Groot, but not only that, but in Cars Land you have all the cars.
I like the Baby Groot sipper, too. We'll have to look into one of these.
Well, we went and we looked at it, and that's all we did.
Well, there was a big line, actually, so
yeah.
They had it on display.
We haven't bought one, and I don't even know if we had seen one in person. They've been here for a number of weeks now at the, I don't know if maybe in the other parks too, but definitely here at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
And you can see it was a picture-perfect day, if not a little warm.
It was warm. Also, we received these, it's okay, the first time ever in like 40 years of going to the parks, I've never received a cold towelette. And that happened with the Death Troopers there. Maybe we should have had one like holding one, because it's, you got the flower on it.
That is a brilliant idea. I wish we could have thought about it there. And there are the Death Troopers that you mentioned. They were out and about probably because the Galaxy Far, Far Away show was down for a few days, doing a very quick refurb. So a bunch of the characters that are normally in the show were out and about. And there was no real line. You just kind of stood around and they pointed to you, and you would go and get a picture with them. So I thought it was a nice...
But they didn't point to you.
They did not point to me. It was mostly kids, but that's okay. It was not necessary to actually meet the Death Trooper.
Well, you walked with them, and I took your picture of them while you took video of them. So
this is really cool. There's actually work being done on the former Streets of America here, Star Wars Land construction.
Well, I don't know what these buildings will be, but I'm really glad to see that some of the Streets of America will remain. They're painting it and doing detailing work probably. That's what it looks like. So it's really nice to see a little bit of history still here.
Yeah, I like that too. I was quite surprised, actually. I thought these were next in line for demolition, so that was a good surprise.
You know what I would like to see on them? Lights.
Yeah, we could have a little mini Osborne lights. That would be interesting. But you could see vertical construction, all kind of things going on. Star Wars Land here is maybe catching up a little bit to Disneyland.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you have AT-ATs within a building and everything out there.
There are AT-ATs. I saw an aerial shot. The AT-ATs, like you saw in California, all that steel is being laid out. And we'll see later on in the show the building that they are going to be in.
But those AT-ATs went in like 2 to 3 months ago.
Well, catching up. But it's a big, you can see there's a big area. Everything is gone from the former Streets of America.
Except for the other buildings.
Correct, correct.
And there is Dinosaur Gertie. I never really see the smoke coming out of the nostrils. I guess this is a thing, but for some reason, you know, there's not always smoke coming out of them, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I don't really see that either, so when you do see it, I guess you have to...
Yeah, I have to take the picture.
Right, so that was very cool. Speaking of cool, we should have had a nice ice cream from there. Now we're going to look in the Brown Derby, and interesting enough, there is construction going on inside the Brown Derby in the entranceway, the stairway that you used to take to go up to the Catwalk Bar. Do you remember the old Catwalk Bar?
I never went there. I'm not really a big bar person, so... it never occurred to me to go up there because it was called a bar, you know?
Right.
So.
It was a very nice place. You would go up where that door is, you'd go up the stairs, or you could take the elevator and it would take you up to the Catwalk Bar, and you would look down and there was a restaurant under it. At one point there was a Beauty and the Beast show, or setup, I mean. So anyway, I don't know, but possibly that could be, maybe that'll be where Club 33 goes there at Hollywood Studios. You know, that would be a great location if you ask me. But there is that little Disney Junior show that plays right there, so they would have to close it off somehow. But it would be a really nice location.
I didn't realize they were connected. Because I've never been up there, I didn't realize that that was a connected area. Mm-hmm. So that will be interesting to see what happens. Each of the parks is supposed to have the Club 33, so we'll see.
Right, maybe they can unconnect that area, you know, or add a different place
They could
upstairs.
put it in the Tower of Terror, maybe.
That would be very cool, too.
So we have not yet seen the Music of Pixar live. I just wanted to mention it because it has started. It started on May 26th. I don't know when the end date is. I haven't seen Disney give an end date. I'm assuming it is one of those summer type things. They have a live orchestra and all that.
Well, we'll be seeing it definitely soon. Hopefully this week, next week at the latest. Now we're looking at the Toy Story Land construction area.
So as we were driving in, I'm like, look at that. So we actually made another circular, and we drove around for a few minutes to get that.
Kind of like driving Miss Denise, because
yes.
you sat right behind me on the driver's side. You did a great job.
Well, the last time we were here a couple of weeks ago, you didn't really see all of this, and now you can see the Slinky Dog Dash as it is being built up pretty quickly at this point. I don't want to say anything's quick, but it's really coming along at this, you know, now it is.
Well, it's very exciting to see the coaster track, and it looks like it'll be a fun ride. I cannot wait for Toy Story Land, and also the Flying Saucers, which will be like the Mater's ride, so I quite look forward to that.
Or we think it will be.
Looks like it.
And at the D23 Expo this year, which is where we're going to be, that is where we are going to hear what the date is for the opening on that.
And I believe this picture is of the Star Wars Land ride that has the AT-ATs in it. It's the same shape as the California version. And I saw an aerial shot, as I mentioned before, and it has all that steel all laid out, ready to go in there. So
is that where it's supposed to be, though? Because
yes,
I feel like because Toy Story Land is right there, it feels like that
Toy
should be...
Story Land, well off in the distance. This is nowhere near that,
Interesting.
Actually. You'll have to look at the aerial shots, and then you'll get a good idea.
So next up is Kraken Unleashed. This is at SeaWorld. It's a new experience, a VR experience, and we were supposed to be on it, but we had been delayed by 5 hours at the airport in Washington, D.C., so we weren't even going to get back till... We ended up getting back at like 3 or 4 in the morning, so a number of hours before that we contacted Dave Drumheller from WDW Guided Tours. He's done other stuff really well for us before.
There he is, and there's his son, too.
His son, Chris, yes. And so he very nicely went in and filled in for us.
So from doing all the editing of this video, it looks like a great ride. I can't wait to get over there and ride it ourselves. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about it and what you heard from Dave?
Well, it's the same coaster, and you had told me And I didn't realize that, I mean, you can ride either with or without the headset. So you can just ride Kraken as is,
Right.
or you can stick, I don't want to say stick the helmet on, but they help you with the helmet. And then it's a 153-foot tall roller coaster. This is a floorless coaster. It goes 65 miles an hour. None of that has changed since before. This coaster has been here for like 10 years. Or maybe 20. Maybe it's 20 years. It's been here a long time. So anyway, you can see the what the VR looks like here. And the one thing is, because of the virtual reality, it does take a little longer to get on the coaster because they have to clean the helmets and put the helmets on.
I was going to mention that. He did mention they are fully cleaned, so you don't have to get a pre-sweated helmet.
Well, I kind of prefer that.
Yes.
And there's going to be a virtual queue. And it was so nice of Dave to do this because I really wanted to ride. Like, we both wanted to ride this.
I still do. We will ride
Yes.
it probably this week. What else did Dave have to say about it?
So I don't think he said as much more about it except, about the headsets and everything. They really enjoyed the attraction. The new attraction as is.
Obviously, his son was able to ride, and I saw pictures of him after with a big giant smile, so that must mean he enjoyed it as well.
He did, and also the coaster, if you've never been on it, includes a number of loops, and the way they do the virtual reality is like when you're going whichever way, you're seeing it. Like if you're turning to the right, you're turning to the right.
So there is a surprise ending. I'm not going to show that. Get over there and ride it. It looks awesome. Now we're moving on to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia. We were out, the reason we were in D.C. is we went to the IPW Travel Conference, and one of the post-conference fam tours was a trip to the Virginia Triangle.
Right, it's the Virginia Historic Triangle, which meant Colonial Williamsburg and a number of other areas, and we had 4 hours in Busch Gardens. I wish it was all day. We really had a great time here.
We maximized the 4 hours fully. This is the France section. We love France, and the first thing we did in the morning was we went to this Griffin. It is a dive coaster, very similar to SheiKra at Busch Gardens in Tampa, and we went to the maintenance bay, and we learned all about the Griffin ride.
So Griffin is a steel dive coaster. This is 10 years old, meaning the other one that we just talked about is probably closer to 20. And you rode it. Did you ride this one?
No,
or no?
none
Oh,
of us rode it.
this?
No, because we are told it's very similar to SheiKra.
So you
SheiKra
wanted to
had
do
opened
something
in 2005, and that has a 200-foot drop. This Griffin opened in 2007, and it has a 205-foot drop. So it actually has extra 5 feet of dropping goodness to that first part.
When it opened, it was the record holder for the tallest and fastest dive coaster, and then with the 71 miles an hour.
And here it is. Again, this is very much like SheiKra. I do love SheiKra. It's an awesome ride. It's very, very smooth ride, and I heard this one is smooth also. Just a lot of fun if you like this sort of thing.
Well, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, it's big on coasters. I think that's what a lot of what they're known for. They also are known as like the most beautiful of the parks. I think Tampa's a beautiful park as well. They're just very different from each other. I liked walking around Williamsburg a lot.
All right, so now the next coaster that they took us to is Invader. This is a brand new coaster for this year. It's a family coaster. I think it's a wooden coaster as well.
Well, it's wooden and steel.
Okay.
I think the steel makes it a little smoother. Of the ones that I did try, this was my favorite, and this is the one I'd go on a lot. It has, they said, some zip to it. It isn't like a 2-year-old's going on it as far as a family coaster, but pretty young kids can go on this one. It is 74 feet tall at the highest, and then it goes about 50 miles an hour. So it goes pretty fast, not much different than like for Bolton or or any of the others.
Well, it kind of reminds me, believe it or not, of White Lightning over at Fun Spot here.
I like that one. Like if you ever go to this Fun Spot closest, on International Drive, the White Lightning is one of my favorite coasters in the area. It's really a really terrific one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I wish we had more time. I would have ridden this again. I would have done so many things. We definitely need to get back to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg.
We have passes.
That's right.
So we're passes to
absolutely. Now the next ride that we did was a very unique and a very cool coaster called Bolton.
So this is a multi-launch coaster. It is indoor-outdoor. It has an 88-foot drop, speeds up to 53 miles an hour. This wasn't a coaster for me.
Well, no, I think you just had a bad cut, because I went on this with my friend Matt from Attractions Magazine, and we sat in the front. We recorded this right here, and as soon as we got in, we were like, we've got to tell Denise and Jackie they need to ride this ride. It's so much fun. It was so smooth. It was so incredibly smooth. And inside here, there is a really cool effect. The only one of these effects that you will see in a U.S. coaster, actually, there's a coaster called 13.
It drops you.
It drops you. It's like Tower of Terror. Like this, the coaster stops, and then this particular one drops you 18 feet.
And I didn't know
like
that.
A free fall. Yeah, we didn't tell you that part. So it's like you're on a roller coaster, it stops in the darkness, and then you fall straight down 18 feet like Tower of Terror. The only other one, well, the very first one was at Alton Towers, as I mentioned, 13, and my good friend Martin Smith, when that opened, brought us some merchandise and told us about it. He was very excited to ride that 13, which is classified as a family coaster, as is this one.
Is this one?
This is also a family
This
coaster.
one rattled me, and it didn't rattle Jeff. Like he said, it was very smooth. Whatever car I was in was like, you know.
Look at this beautiful view. This is gorgeous.
It was. I will say it was a beautiful view. I would have ridden those boats, though. You know, there's something for everybody here. I would go more on Invader.
All right, Curse of Dark Castle. This is a very, very similar kind of like a simulator, but with actual sets, kind of like Spider-Man at Universal Islands of Adventure, but it's more of a kind of like a horror theme. I'm not quite, well, you know, we went, there was such a small line, we didn't have a chance to get the whole story. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, they have the story online, so I only wrote a tiny bit down, but this is a dark ride. I don't really do 3D, so that's the second thing in a row that isn't as much for me. But I do 3D if it's not too scary. So anyway, it's a foreboding castle frozen under the spell of a centuries-old curse. So you enjoyed it, though.
I mean, thoroughly. I think the 3D was very effective. It seemed almost exactly like Spider-Man as far as the track layout and some of the effects that happen, including at the end of Spider-Man where you kind of fall down the building. You do fall down a building in this ride also, and the carts are very much like that. And hey, Spider-Man is probably my all-time favorite attraction in Orlando, at least right up there with the new, what's the ride I like so much at Flight of Passage from Pandora, the World of Avatar. And there's that fall down, very much like Spider-Man. Anyway, I'm not that familiar with the story, but I do love the ride itself.
I just want to say, like, Busch Gardens Williamsburg is not all like thrill rides. They also have a boat. They have a train. There's also the Sky Ride. So there are things that I really want to do. And wolves. They have wolves. I don't even know. I've never seen wolves in a park before.
Well, let's not forget Fest House. I loved Fest House. This was a highlight of the day. This is something they used to have very similar in the Tampa version of Busch Gardens.
Right, like 15 years ago, I think they closed or they changed over the one in Tampa. And what I really came here for was this.
This is it's bigger in person than it looked there. And this is, I had a German smorgasbord of German food highlights there. And you had, looks like a turkey sandwich and all sorts of goodness. And thank you very much for IPW for providing all this for us.
And Visit Williamsburg.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but as soon as I knew we were coming to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, I was like, okay, I knew in my head I was going to the Fest House and I was going to have a piece of this cake. And just so you know, it only costs like $3.89. So, and it's so big. It doesn't look big, but
we did not finish.
We didn't finish it. The two of us didn't finish it.
And they also have entertainment.
And I thought that was really nice. It's totally different than the beer garden at Epcot. We weren't able to take any video. They don't allow for that. So, but I took a few pictures.
Yeah, anybody can walk in there. There's no upcharge or anything. It's really nice, and I really wish they still had something like this at Busch Gardens Tampa. Oh, there's the boat that you like so much that you didn't ride.
I didn't ride it, and I wanted to do all the slow stuff this time. I mean, I like a couple of the coasters, but this river cruise looked really nice. But we only had, again, a total of 4 hours, including the backstage tours. So probably like 3 hours on our own. So I think we did pretty good getting around the park for that.
Right, and they also had a train too, a steam train, which would be fun again, and that you could see
And
the
there's
sky
the
ride. There's the
sky-
sky. We
oh, there's so
definitely
much
need
here.
to go back for multiple days to check out all the goodness there at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg.
It really was a good time.
And here is the exit way, and now we're going on to our next adventure, which was Go Ape.
So the Go Ape at Freedom Park includes, generally it's like a 2 to 3 hours of an obstacle course and zip line. Jeff, and then you can see Matt here from Attractions was in front of him.
And there's you.
And I'm down there taking some, this is me taking photos and video. I did not go on it.
And you're fully attached. You have all these tethers and wires and things. So it's very, very safe. It's fun. You get to do little obstacle courses. This was actually the
Juniors
the
course.
junior
It was for the
version.
little kids.
That's right. And that's what they
The
put
younger
us
kids.
on.
So just because it was quicker, we went through very fast. Like this was after Busch Gardens. We did this, and then we're going to show alpacas, and that was the next thing.
I am very proud of my landing here. No crash.
And you didn't even plan to do it at all. So
Matt talked me into it. So
Yes.
thank you, Matt.
So anyway, our next stop was for alpacas at Foxwire Farms. This is fairly close. This is just like right outside of Williamsburg. So really pretty close to where we had been. And I have never touched an alpaca. I've never been close to an alpaca.
They are
like this.
adorable. They are
They
absolutely
were really
adorable.
cute.
So soft, and your hands don't get oily. You know how sometimes you touch some animals and your hands are all oily and everything? Not these. These, no effect like that. I like that.
And if you're in the area, I think it's only like $5 to take a tour that's like 2 hours. And I think you can do private tours for like double that. So it really was a very nice experience to come here and see them. And we probably had a half hour to an hour with the alpacas.
And the owners really love these. These are not made or not bred for
Food
or anything like that. They know, like this lady here knows everyone's name. There's 100 of them, and they know everyone's name.
Did they say 100?
Yeah, they say if one of them dies or something, they actually have a funeral, like not a funeral, but you know, a special thing. So they love the animals, and it really shows. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was nice.
And the ones that we saw and petted were only maybe a month old. So they had a lot of little babies because I went to the Foxwire Farm Facebook page. And so if you like alpacas at all, you know, their page, they just show alpacas all the time. And they really do seem to take very good care of them. And that's really important. And they have like camps for teens and such too.
And coats. You can get an alpaca coat.
Well, just so you know, the fur.
Yeah.
So just like, you know,
Like a
shearing,
sheep. Yeah.
right, shearing sheep.
Not like leather.
So they have a boutique just like a couple miles away.
So tell quickly about these guys.
So these are guard llamas, and so I didn't realize that llamas, you know, can protect you too. So like you don't want to go too close to a llama, and not only can it spit on you, but it could attack you.
You don't want to fool around. This is like the llama SWAT team. If somebody that shouldn't be there is there, they will cause quite a ruckus.
So yeah, I had no idea. I thought llamas were just cute and you could go pet them, but you can't. I guess you can't pet. You can pet the alpaca, but you cannot pet the llama.
So the next stop was the Virginia Beer Company, and I'm doing valuable research right here for Mousesteps. It was so nice to be able to try all those great craft beers brewed right here, and it was a really nice, a very, very nice atmosphere, family atmosphere, kids playing games. They had dogs, they had a food truck, so it was a nice way to sort of wind down from running around theme parks and seeing alpacas and doing zip lines.
It's amazing what we got done that day. I mean, you know, looking back on it. But we really had a very good trip, and definitely want to thank Visit Williamsburg and IPW and everybody because we had a really great time. But I wish we had been able to stay a little bit longer, but we have those annual passes to Busch Gardens.
Well, we just had a taste of all this stuff, so it'd be nice to go back and see it all, as you said, a little bit longer. Anyway, that is another show. Thanks so much to our sponsor, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel.
And they can book Williamsburg, too. So even though they are Disney specialists, they also can specialize in travel around the world and around the country.
I loved it. Can't wait to go back. Next week, we'll have more big doings. We have all kinds of plans. We're going to go to Epcot this week. We might check out some resorts.
Disney Springs. So there is a lot, and I look forward to all of it.
We still have more Paris stuff to throw in here, and we have much
Williamsburg.
more from Williamsburg and
DC.
Washington, D.C., Ben's Chili Bowl. So much goodness. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next week.
Have a great week.